Trump's first and only debate against Kamala Harris last month is now the subject of a lawsuit, but not from the vice president, but from the exonerated Central Park Five. They're the five men convicted as teenagers in the 1989 rape of a Central Park jogger. At the time, Trump famously called for their execution, only for them to be exonerated 13 years later. Now, during the debate, Trump got the facts of the case wrong. He referred to them as pleading guilty. It didn't happen. He also said the woman was killed, and she wasn't. So now the men are suing Trump for defamation. Joining me now to talk more about this is Jeff Lewis, a First Amendment attorney. Jeff, thanks for being here on Monday. A Trump campaign spokesperson responded to the defamation lawsuit by saying, quote, "This is just another frivolous election interference lawsuit filed by desperate left-wing activists in an attempt to distract the American people from Kamala Harris's dangerously liberal agenda and failing campaign." Now, without getting into the politics of this response, because it's clearly filled with a lot of rhetoric, what is the difference between telling a lie and simply getting the facts incorrect?
That's a great question. You know, the best defense Donald Trump will have is what he said substantially true. Wasn't enough that these boys gave incriminating statements to the police. Is that close enough to pleading guilty to get Mr. Trump off a defamation charge?
Right. And how does intent factor into this?
It's very important. In any high-profile case like this, the plaintiffs have to prove that Mr. Trump, when he spoke, he knew what he was saying was untrue, or he didn't care about the truth. It's called actual malice.
Now, part of this complaint states the men have, quote, suffered injuries as a result of defendant Trump's false and defamatory statements. How important is that part, the injury part, to this lawsuit?
Not in this kind of case, because it's defamation per se. The accusation of committing a crime or being guilty of a crime, you don't have to prove any actual damages. You can put it to a jury and say, award me anything you want.
The five men, they didn't specify damages. Instead, they asked for a trial to determine them. What does a judge take into account to determine damages in a case like this?
It's really hard. It'll probably be a jury, not a judge, determining the amount of damages. And these five people haven't lost any jobs or lost any income as a result of what Mr. Trump said. So the question will be, what is your name worth? And what should the jury award for having your name sullied?
You know, as I was researching this story and this lawsuit, in the background was an ad, a campaign ad. I don't remember who it was for, but, you know, campaign ads, they have a lot of statements that many could point to as being false, not true. What's the difference between filing a lawsuit when it comes to a campaign ad versus what's happening here? Is it just simply filing it?
That's a great point, because under the U.S. Constitution, political speech, statements that are made in the heat of the campaign are the most highly protected forms of speech. Keep in mind, these five people aren't running for office. I know one's holding office, but they're not part of a campaign. They're private parties.
How do you expect this to impact what we see moving forward in terms of the last, 2 weeks of the campaign?
I don't think this lawsuit's going to move the needle at all as it relates to the election. But at the end of the day, this case is going to go to trial. And look, you're probably reporting in the news that Rudy Giuliani just had to turn over his apartment building to the election workers he defamed. That could happen here.
Yeah, we just reported on that, that's for sure. First Amendment attorney Jeff Lewis, thanks so much. Coming up on the